Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at a really unusual situation today. A sudden, massive assembly of top U.S. military leaders.
Yeah, hundreds of generals, admirals, the whole senior corps, basically. Summoned to Quantico with almost no warning.
Right, summoned to Marine Corps Base Quantico in Virginia, and almost no explanation initially.
Which is definitely not standard procedure. I
Yeah.
mean, coordinating the entire high command like that, pulling them from, Europe, the Middle East, the Indo-Pacific, all at the same time.
The logistics alone must be staggering.
Oh, absolutely. The scale, the operational risk, it's huge. It signals something, far beyond routine. And in this case, it really feels like the stakes are fundamentally political.
Exactly. So our mission here for you listening is to use these sources we have to quickly unpack the logistics, the security angles, and, yeah, the political context. It started, apparently, with an order from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for just a brief address.
Just focused on standards and a warrior ethos. That was the initial line. Pretty standard fare, maybe.
But then things changed dramatically.
Uh-huh. That last-minute White House memo, that dropped, and suddenly President Trump was on the agenda.
And that changes everything, doesn't it?
Completely. It instantly shifted from, internal Pentagon thing to this high-profile Secret Service-managed event. National implications.
So you have this tension, right, between the defense secretary's stated military goal and then, bam, the White House steps in. That's the core paradox we need to explore here.
Let's start with that surprise element.
Yeah.
The sheer logistics of just getting everyone there on short notice.
Yeah, our sources say this announcement really caught senior Pentagon folks completely off guard. Hegseth's first orders gave zero reason why this massive gathering was needed.
It suggests a breakdown in communication, doesn't it? Or maybe intentional ambiguity from the top.
Could be. And imagine the scramble. Leaders of huge commands, Pacific Fleet, NATO suddenly booking flights, arranging handovers.
It's mind-boggling, frankly. The coordination required is immense. And think about the gaps it leaves, even temporarily, in global commands.
And when you pull people like that without a clear why, anxiety fills the void, right? The sources mention real concern among those summoned.
Apparently so. Some attendees were genuinely worried this was maybe the prelude to mass firings, to motions, like a potential purge.
A purge? Wow. That's strong language, but maybe understandable given the context we'll get into.
Yeah, there's a recent history there.
All right.
But just sticking to the logistics and cost for a second.
Right, the cost.
It's expected to run into the millions. Flights from all over, lodging, security, transport. It's a huge commitment of taxpayer money and military time and focus.
So millions spent, global commands disrupted, leaders anxious about their jobs, and then the president decides to attend. What reason did he give?
Well, publicly, the tone was very upbeat. He told NBC News it was going to be a very nice meeting.
Very nice.
Yeah, focus on readiness, morale. He used the phrase esprit de corps.
Yeah.
So, positive, motivational. That was the public framing.
Interesting contrast. The stated intent is morale, but the reality sounds like disruption and anxiety, plus massive cost, which, unsurprisingly, drew criticism.
Right. And that brings us neatly into the political context. Military law experts immediately raised red flags about politicization.
Okay, like who?
Eugene R. Fidel, for instance. He lectures at Yale Law School, knows military law inside out. He called it, and this is a quote, the mother of all photo ops.
Mother of all photo ops. That implies it's purely for show, no real substance.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
He warned it raises these broader concerns about, blurring the lines, using the military for political stagecraft.
But wait, isn't addressing the top brass part of being commander-in-chief? What makes this specific event cross that line, according to the critics?
It's the context. It's always the context. Specifically, the timing, the suddenness, and importantly, what else Secretary Hegseth has been doing.
So the attendees weren't just reacting to the meeting itself, but to Hegseth's recent actions.
Exactly. They're walking into Quantico already feeling uncertain because of things Hegseth has set in motion.
Okay, let's detail that uncertainty. What has Hegseth been up to?
Well, first, he's proposed a huge cut, a 20% reduction in the General Officer Corps.
20%. That's massive. That's not just trimming fat. That's major surgery on the command structure.
Absolutely. It would fundamentally change how the Pentagon interacts with commanders in the field. That proposal alone is enough to fuel those fears of firings we mentioned.
And it's not just talk, right? He's actually made changes already.
He has. Sources say he's fired roughly 24 senior officers since taking office.
Okay.
And here's a detail that stood out in the reporting. Those fired were disproportionately female generals.
Disproportionately female. That adds another layer entirely.
It does. So you combine that pattern, however unintentional the administration claims it might be, with the threat of cutting 1/5 of all general officers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the atmosphere at Quantico is likely tense, scrutiny, maybe even dread.
You can feel that structural anxiety just hearing about it. And the political message sent by those kinds of patterns, especially when the president calls it a nice meeting, the disconnect is pretty stark.
It is. And the sources suggest Hegseth isn't just cutting people. He's aiming for a fundamental redesign.
How so?
Well, officials familiar with the plan say Hegseth is looking at lowering the ranks required for top command positions, maybe consolidating some combatant commands.
Consolidating commands, like merging CENTCOM and AFRICOM or something like that.
The specifics aren't fully detailed in our sources, but yes, that kind of structural change, and it's presented as part of a bigger strategic shift.
Okay, this seems crucial. What's the stated strategic shift driving these potential changes?
The administration says it's about moving away from the long-standing focus on global power projection.
Right, the post-9/11 era focus, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And shifting towards homeland defense and domestic military operations. That's the explicit goal.
Homeland defense. So consolidating commands, maybe lowering ranks, it's all framed as streamlining for challenges closer to home.
Precisely. It signals a foundational change in priorities for the entire U.S. military, turning the focus inward.
Wow. Okay, that insight, the pivot to homeland defense, really reframes this whole Quantico gathering, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
It suggests Hegseth's message about standards in warrior ethos might be less abstract and more about prepping leaders for a totally different kind of mission set.
That seems very likely, and that shift connects directly to what was happening domestically right around the same time.
Let's connect those dots.
Yeah.
Because the timing is striking.
It really is. Remember the White House memo confirming Trump's attendance came out on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Well, that same day, the president issued another significant directive. He called for federal authorities to deploy troops to Portland, Oregon.
Portland. And what was the stated reason?
To protect federal facilities there, specifically immigration and customs enforcement IC buildings.
Okay, and that move wasn't without controversy.
No, definitely not. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek immediately objected, questioned the legality, the necessity of using federal forces that way domestically. So it's a very concrete example of this domestic enforcement priority in action.
And this wasn't just a one-off order, was it? There was a broader legal basis being set up.
Right. The sources mention a recent executive order, one that significantly expands federal power to combat what it calls domestic terrorism and organized political violence.
Granting sweeping new powers for investigation and prosecution of internal threats.
Exactly. So you've got the Defense Secretary shaking up the officer corps, talking homeland focus.
While the White House is using new legal tools and ordering domestic troop deployments.
And smack in the middle of all that, you have this unprecedented gathering at Quantico. It's not happening in a vacuum.
No, it feels like the absolute nexus point. It's basically signaling to hundreds of top commanders. Your world is changing. Your focus might shift from overseas conflicts to domestic situations.
Yeah, what does warrior ethos mean in that context? Especially with the backdrop of potential cuts, the cost, the politicization claims, the stakes are incredibly high for everyone involved.
So just to recap the core tension here for officials, they're juggling incredibly complex logistics, millions in costs, flying people in from hotspots all over the world,
while managing deep internal anxiety about job security and major structural changes. And then, boom, the president's attendance turns it into this huge political flashpoint, sparking warnings about politicizing the military itself.
And it's all happening under this banner of shifting the entire military's focus towards homeland defense, which we see playing out in real time with orders like the one for Portland. It's quite a convergence.
It truly is. Which leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to really chew on.
Okay, what's that?
Well, given this clear, stated shift by the administration towards homeland defense, combined with the new executive orders targeting domestic threats and these immediate deployments to U.S. cities, what message does this massive, sudden Quantico assembly ultimately send to the officer corps about their future role? And how might they need to adapt their whole concept of a warrior ethos to fit these new, very domestic priorities?